I want to start today with a number that didn't just surprise me. It actually made me physically uncomfortable. I was reading this report on cloud computing, and the math is it's brutally simple.
I think I know exactly which report you're looking at. The one about all the wasted spend.
Exactly. The statistic is this. 1 out of every $3 a company spends on the cloud is just burning while nobody watches.
It is a staggering statistic, and we have to be really clear here for everyone listening. This isn't some metaphor for opportunity cost or anything abstract like that. We are not talking about money you could have made.
No.
We are talking about cash, literally evaporating from the bank account because of, well, inefficiency.
Which sets the stage perfectly for what we're doing today. We are taking a deep dive into a stack of insights from a top voice in engineering and strategy. And I have to admit, when I first saw the source list, I was a little confused.
It's a bit of an eclectic mix, isn't it?
Eclectic is a polite way to put it. We've got sources on cloud finance, cybersecurity, jewelry design, and my personal favorite, robots that sort garbage. It feels a little random.
It does on the surface. But if you look closer, there's a very specific philosophy tying all of this together. The source calls it the art of quiet impact.
The art of quiet impact. I like the sound of that.
Right. I mean, we live in a world obsessed with hype. The loud product launch, the viral trend, all that. This deep dive is about the exact opposite. It's about engineered efficiency.
Spotting the invisible leaks.
Exactly. Spotting the invisible leaks in a system. Sometimes that leak is money in an AWS account. Sometimes it's a tiny plastic lever in a car door. And sometimes it's a security flaw in a VPN.
So our mission today is to hand those frameworks over to you, the listener. We want to equip you to spot what the source calls ghost resources, the things silently draining your time, your money, or your safety. Whether you're writing code, managing a team, or, just trying to protect your retirement fund.
Precisely. If we're going to stop the bleeding, we first have to understand why we can't even see the wound.
So let's go back to that cloud statistic. 1 in $3 wasted. The source uses this visceral image. Your cloud is bleeding cash. But the problem isn't just that it's happening.
Right. It's how companies try to fix it.
This is where it gets interesting. The source compares traditional cloud cost reviews to an autopsy.
An autopsy. That's grim.
But it's also pretty accurate, right?
It's incredibly accurate. I mean, think about how most companies operate. Once a quarter, the finance team and engineering leads get together. They pull up these massive spreadsheets.
Looking at data from 3 months ago?
Yes. They point to a line item and say, hey, we spent too much here back in October.
But by the time they find it,
the patient is already dead. The money is gone. It's a forensic exercise. You can learn from it, sure, but you can't get that cash back. The source argues you don't need an autopsy. You need a pulse monitor.
And this introduces a concept in the material called Agentic FinOps. Now, I want to pause on the jargon for a second. Agentic sounds a little like buzzword bingo. What does that actually mean?
That's a fair question. We're used to automation, right? A script that does exactly what you tell it to do, step by step. Agentic implies a level of autonomy.
Okay.
It's the difference between a dashboard you have to remember to check and an AI agent that is actively watching the system for you 24/7 and, making decisions based on what it sees.
So it's not just reporting, it's monitoring behavior.
Exactly. The source shares this story that just illustrates it perfectly. There was a CTO of a Series B SaaS company, a serious business, about $12 million in ARR.
And the CTO tells the author, oh, we're very disciplined. We run monthly cost reviews. He was proud of his spreadsheet. He really thought he had a tight ship.
He did. And then they tested this pulse monitor approach. They deployed an AI agent to scan his AWS estate. It didn't take a month. It took 14 minutes.
And what did it find in 14 minutes?
It found $38,000 a month.
Wait, a month?
Per month. In idle GPU instances.
$30,000 a month. That's nearly $500,000 a year just sitting there.
And here's the kicker. Nobody remembered spinning them up. They were ghost resources. Maybe an engineer needed them for a test 6 months ago, got distracted, forgot to turn them off. The monthly spreadsheet review missed it.
Because humans are terrible at sifting through thousands of line items.
Exactly. The agent caught it before lunch.
That is painful to hear. But, okay, if I'm listening to this and I'm suddenly terrified that I have these ghost resources, what do I actually do? Because letting an AI loose on my servers sounds, well, risky.
It is risky if you do it wrong. That's why the source provides a specific framework. It's called P.A.C.E.
P.A.C.E.
Yeah, it stands for pick, Agent, contain, expand. It's designed to let you fix the problem without, freaking out your entire engineering team.
Okay, let's break that down. P is for pick.
Pick one cloud account. Don't try to boil the ocean. Don't try to roll this out to the whole company on day one. Just pick the dev environment or a sandbox account.
Okay, that feels safe enough. A is for agent.
Deploy the agent. But, and this is crucial, you give it read-only access initially, or, if you're brave, very limited kill permissions, strictly for idle stuff.
Right, so it can't accidentally shut down your production server.
That's the nightmare scenario. Sorry, boss, the AI turned off the website.
So how do you prevent that?
That's C-contain. You set guardrails. You establish rollback rules. Basically, you make sure that if the agent makes a change, you can undo it instantly. It's about psychological safety for the team.
They need to know the pulse monitor won't stop the heart.
Exactly. And finally, E for expand.
Okay.
After 30 days, you measure the savings. Once you have that win, look, we saved $10 pays this month without breaking anything. Then, and only then, you widen the scope.
What I love about this is that quote from the source. You don't need board approval to stop paying for servers nobody's using.
You really don't. You just need one pilot and, as the source says, one person tired of spreadsheet forensics.
I'm going to adopt that phrase, spreadsheet forensics. Okay, so that's how AI saves money in the cloud. But I want to pivot, because the next set of sources talks about where AI is actually making money in the real world. And spoiler alert, it's not where you think.
It certainly isn't in another chatbot wrapper.
No. The source brings up a company called AMP Robotics. While everyone else is obsessing over large language models, this company raised $91 million. And they aren't writing poetry. They are sorting garbage.
This is what the source calls the unsexy opportunity. And frankly, it's where the real revolution is happening.
Why is that? Why is sorting garbage more revolutionary than a chatbot that can write a sonnet?
Because the physical world is messy. It's chaotic. It's so much harder to solve than text prediction. Think about a recycling plant. It's loud, things are moving fast, objects are crushed and dirty.
Right.
The source points out a pattern here. The trillion-dollar opportunities aren't in the shiny new industries. They're in the industries your grandfather understood. Waste management, manufacturing, agriculture.
There's a great line in the notes. The best opportunities don't trend on Twitter. They trend in industrial parks at 4 a.m.
It's true. AMP Robotics used computer vision to identify recyclables on a conveyor belt at speeds a human can't match. They took a dangerous, inefficient job and turned it into a precision operation. It's boring, and it is incredibly valuable.
And this actually connects to another idea in the material about how we work with AI. It's not just robots replacing humans, it's this concept of the Renaissance workshop.
I found this fascinating. There's this myth in tech of the lone genius, the brilliant coder in a hoodie. But the source references an MIT study that found AI helps diverse teams surface ideas 70% faster.
70% is a huge jump. Why does diversity matter more when AI is involved?
Because AI kind of levels the playing field on the technical side. It acts as a force multiplier. The source argues that AI is the scholarship program for everyone. It doesn't care about your degree or your zip code.
So if the AI can handle the syntax, the boilerplate code, all that stuff.
Exactly. Then the value shifts to the idea itself. It amplifies the team that best mixes logic, empathy, and imagination. So a shy coder working with a visual artist and a process engineer can suddenly perform like this team of master sculptors.
It shifts the value from what you know to how you connect and create.
Correct. It democratizes the ability to build.
Okay, so we've looked at the cloud and we've looked at recycling robots. I want to shift gears to something that feels very different, but is actually deeply connected. Let's talk hardware. The source has this incredible story from Bengaluru about an EV.
Ah, yes. The mystery of the draining battery.
This story is like a detective novel. So you have a firmware team working on a new EV. Top-tier people. The code is clean, optimized, perfect.
Yeah.
But there's a huge problem. The battery is draining in 2 hours instead of 8.
Which is a complete failure for an EV. You can't sell a car that dies before you leave the city. And naturally, everyone blames the software first.
Right. They assume it's a glitch. They are tearing their hair out looking for bugs in the code. Why isn't the car going into sleep mode? But there are no bugs. The logic is sound.
So they have to dig deeper. They start looking at the dash cam logs, the physical record of what the car's actually seeing.
And they see something weird. The car thinks the door is opening and closing over and over again.
Phantom inputs.
Exactly.
Right.
Every time that sensor trips, the car's computer wakes up, turns on the screen, preps the motor, all of it. It never goes to sleep.
And the cause wasn't a line of code. It wasn't the battery chemistry. It was a tiny plastic lever in the door mechanism.
A cheap, substandard piece of plastic. It was cracking under the stress of the latch, causing the sensor to misfire.
This is such a profound lesson. You can have the most brilliant AI strategy, the most elegant code, but if the cheap plastic lever, the execution layer, fails, the whole system fails.
The source calls it the hardware of reality. Solid firmware needs solid foundations. It's a reminder that we can't just live in the cloud.
Eventually, rubber has to meet the road. Or in this case, plastic meets the latch. And if you ignore those small, boring physical details, the big, expensive strategy is worthless.
And, oddly enough, the source connects this exact engineering failure to jewelry design.
Yes, this was a surprising connection, but it makes total sense. The source discusses engineered minimalism in the context of this specific ring design, the pure taper.
Okay, help me bridge the gap. How does a gold ring relate to a broken car door?
It's about how you handle failure points. The jewelry designer isn't just asking, how does this look? They're asking, how reliably can this be made?
I'm with you.
In traditional jewelry, you might solder different pieces together, the band to the setting, for example. Those joints are weak points. They are the plastic levers.
Right.
This designer moved to single-piece investment casting.
Meaning the whole ring is made as one solid unit.
Exactly. They removed the fragile joints entirely. They designed out the failure points before the metal was even poured.
So whether it's a car door or a gold ring, the philosophy is the same. Complexity is a risk. Fragility is a leak.
Precisely. Great design isn't about adding hero-level craftsmanship to fix a bad structure. It's about removing the need for the heroics in the first place.
This idea of hidden leaks brings us to our final big topic. We've talked about leaking money, leaking battery power. Now we have to talk about leaking data and leaking your retirement fund.
The pivot to security and financial hygiene.
Let's start with the digital side. The source has a very provocative take on VPNs. Most of us think, I have a VPN, I turn it on, I'm safe. The source basically says that's a security blanket you've outgrown.
It predicts that by 2026, the whole castle and moat strategy, which is what a VPN is, will fail completely. And honestly, it's already failing.
Why? I mean, it's been the standard for 20 years.
Because the moat implies there's an inside and an outside. You lower the drawbridge, let someone in, and then you trust them. But with remote work, mobile devices, the perimeter doesn't exist anymore.
So once a bad actor gets past the VPN login,
They're inside the castle. They have free reign.
so what replaces the moat? The source talks about zero trust.
Right. And zero trust is a buzzword that gets abused. But the core concept is simple. Treat identity as the border.
What does that look like in practice?
It means the system doesn't trust you just because you have the password. It looks at context. It looks at behavior. The source gives a great example about travel.
Oh, the impossible travel scenario.
Right. If a user logs in from New York at 9 a.m., and then the same user logs in from Shanghai at 11 a.m.
That is physically impossible, even on a very fast jet.
Right. But a traditional system might just check the password and let them in. A zero-trust system says, this behavior is impossible. Block it. It's not looking for a virus. It's looking for anomalies in identity.
It's a pulse monitor for security, just like we talked about for the cloud.
Exactly. It's continuous verification. It's assuming a breach could happen at any moment and verifying every single step.
Now, speaking of verifying every step, the source takes a sharp turn into personal finance with a very specific warning about provident funds, or PF. This might seem specific, but the principle is universal.
It is universal.
Yeah.
This is the personal CFO check. The source highlights a crime where employers deduct the retirement contribution from your salary, but they fail to deposit it with the government.
So on your pay stub, it looks like the money went to your retirement, but the company just kept it to pay their bills.
The source calls it what it is: embezzlement. They're using your retirement money for their cash flow.
That is infuriating. And just like the cloud waste, it happens because nobody is watching. The employee just assumes it's happening automatically.
And the source gives very specific advice. Check the UMIG app or whatever government portal applies to you. The deadline is usually the 15th of the month. If money isn't there, it's not a process delay.
It's theft.
It's theft. And it fits the theme perfectly. It's another ghost resource, or in this case, a ghost liability, burning unnoticed in the background.
Whether it's an AWS server or your own retirement fund, you have to look at the boring back-end processes. You can't just trust the dashboard.
Vigilance. That is the common thread through all of this. If you aren't actively monitoring the pulse, you are bleeding somewhere.
So let's try to synthesize all this. We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. We started with the cloud, realizing that autopsies don't save money, pulse monitors do. We moved to the physical world, seeing how boring AI and waste management is where the real money is.
We learned that a cracked plastic lever can ruin the best code in the world, and that jewelry design teaches us to engineer out the weak points from the start.
And we finished with the necessity of zero trust, insecurity, and just personal vigilance in our own finances.
It all comes back to that core philosophy from the source, the art of quiet impact.
You know, there's a quote from the source's personal brand description that really stuck with me. It sums up this whole deep dive. Real technology doesn't replace people. It restores them.
That's beautiful.
It is. The goal isn't disruption for the sake of headlines. It's not about making noise. It's about building systems that are so resilient, so elegant, so efficient that they transform the ecosystem quietly.
It's the quiet architect. The person who fixes the plastic lever, who sets up the AI agent, who checks their own retirement fund.
Exactly. It's about moving from being a consumer of hype to being an architect of matter.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with a question. We talked about P.A.C.E. and finding those idle GPU instances, but that's just one example.
Right. The question is broader.
Here is what we want you to ask yourself today. What is the largest ghost resource currently running unnoticed in your life or your business, and how long has it been silently burning cash?
Is it a subscription you forgot about? A process that wastes your team's time every single day? A security vulnerability you're ignoring because it's inconvenient to fix?
Find it. Be the pulse monitor, not the coroner.
And remember, you don't need board approval to stop the bleeding. You just need to be the one who notices.
That's it for this deep dive. Go out there and be the quiet architect of your own work. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye, everyone.